Okay, we're going to get going. It's 7 p.m. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris P. I'm calling the regularly scheduled Stratford Water Pollution Control Authority meeting to order at 7 p.m. on Monday, February 27, 2023. First item on the agenda is going to be the approval of the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of September 26, 2022. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Dancho, do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. O'Brien. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is going to be the report of the town engineer, Mr. Casey, and we're going to go through the action items first. What do we got? No, 7.
So I want to just make sure everyone got a copy of my memo for the weekend. Okay, so in that item 3 is the coastal resiliency plan discussion, and we did receive our 60% design plans, which I forwarded out over the weekend, and the technical report that it goes with the basis of the so that it describes the basis of which the design is formulated around. That went out to you. That's all pretty detailed and technical, but I just kind of picked out some highlights in my memo for that plan. Important to know a few things. One is the design flood elevation that we're proposing is elevation 17, and that's 3 feet higher than the current 100-year flood elevation. And that gives us, special protection against, well, it's really dictated by the DEP design guidance is to be 3 feet above the 100-year flood. So if the 100-year flood is a 1% chance of risk of happening, we're 3 feet above that. So it reduces our risk to have a higher flood wall. Because it's a critical facility, that's the design criteria. The current plan is to construct a wall of concrete. The concrete wall will be sitting on piles that are driven down beneath the unsuitable material that most of the land sits on. And in the areas where we can, instead of putting a concrete wall, we're putting an earthen berm. So I brought a map that kind of shows that. It's what I had emailed out also. I can quickly run through what that looks like, but it's kind of hard for everyone to see. So I'll just run through it. If you have any questions, or afterwards, if you want, I can show it to you in more detail. So on this map, the orientation is north is to the left of the sheet, so that's going upriver. We have the Houstonic River on the bottom of the sheet. The animal shelter is on the right-hand side of the sheet. And the Birdseye Street and the boat ramp are on the left side of the street. So there's a Birdseye Street coming down here. And you could see the area where we propose to put a earthen berm is demonstrated by these heavy lines. So over here we have these heavy lines here that are the contour lines of the proposed berm. And then where we don't have enough room to construct that berm, we have a concrete wall, and that's denoted by the yellow lines surrounding the rest of the treatment plant. Now it's important to know too that on Beacon Point Road, the flood protection actually jumps to the east side of the road, on the water side of the road. So you can see it jumps on the other side of the road, and it runs along the top of the existing flood dike And then it jumps back to the treatment plant side of the road. And where it's crossing the road, there will be floodgates that will be erected in advance of a storm. And those floodgates consist of columns that will be installed and stop log type aluminum planks that will be 5 to 6 feet tall. And then there's some reinforcement that goes behind that to help them withstand the weight of the water that would be expected during a 500-year storm or 100-year storm. And that happens on Beacon Point Road, and it also happens at the rear driveway that comes in near the animal shelter. The other current entrance to the facility is off of Beacon Point Road. I'm sorry, Birdseye Street. That's over here. And we're proposing to eliminate that, so we won't need a gate there. The guys at the treatment plant don't really use that for access. And so our main access will be off of Beacon Point Road with a secondary egress coming out to the animal shelter. And for emergency purposes, there is a gravel road that runs from this out alongside of the Greenway to Main Street. So there's egress from here if we couldn't get out for some reason on Birdseye Street. You could also see in blue there are some penetrations that currently come through the existing dike, and we're proposing to eliminate them. Those are stormwater drainage pipes that run from outside the treatment plant into the inside of the treatment plant. And that occurs at 5 locations. And we have a separate project proposed that would eliminate those stormwater crossings and penetrations. And each one of those stormwater penetrations would be a point of vulnerability. So if we can't eliminate them, we're going to try to close them off in an effective way so that during a storm we can either they're not there or we shut it off, and so no water can get through the dike via pipes that we have there. So we'll be reducing our risk by eliminating the pipes, ideally, but if that's not feasible, then we'd have to put gates on, make sure we could isolate those pipes. So during the storm, basically the entire treatment plant, in the worst case scenario, would be surrounded by water. But the inside the treatment plant would not be surrounded by water. It would be more or less high and dry. The inside of the treatment plant dike, there is a pump station right here, and that pump station is designed to collect the water from inside the treatment plant grounds and pump it out. And that pump station also handles the plant's effluent. The treated water that we treat also gets pumped out probably 90% of the time. It gets pumped out to the river. So they did a study, and that's actually a different item in my memo, but the stormwater analysis here, which would be a different project, they looked at the treatment plant, the pump station, and the pump station is sufficient if we remove the outside stormwater sources to handle the 100-year coastal flood event with a 25-year rainstorm at the same time. And anything more than that, we would have to do some additional upgrades to try to get more water out. So we're right kind of at our limit. The pump station can handle what we would expect, but anything more than that we couldn't handle.
So John, just so, and then I'll open up to questions, but just so I'm clear, I know we've been talking about this for a while now, and in part of the funding for this entire project was that EPA grant.
Yes.
So the next year, you and I spoke, but the reason why we're here tonight is the next phase of this is to move forward for permitting processes, correct?
Yeah, the next phase will be to permit the improvements as they're shown here, and then proceed with the more detailed design work
And can you just explain to the commission the timeframe in which we have to act on that grant?
The grant expires in December of 2025. So we have to have our construction completed months before that, so we could actually take a couple months to actually close the grant out and get our final reimbursements before the grant expires. So working backwards from there, we want to be done with construction September 2024, which means we want to be started the summer of 2023 or fall of 2023 to get this year-long project completed. So
Gotcha.
we do want to proceed with the 90% design now that we've got to this stage. We'll be doing the permitting simultaneously. So by this summer at some point, we're ready to have a final plan ready for bid.
Thank you. I'll open it up to
Thank you.
Kate.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. I have two questions, Mr. Casey. First comment, thank you for bringing that and showing all of us. I do think that it's really helpful. So in the lower part of your map that's facing us, you said that if possible, that the additional gates would be installed in the event that we have a large storm coming. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
there'll be footings installed with
Footings.
this project, and then
Mhm.
we'll have the materials purchased for those gates
Okay.
on site. In fact, their little storage trailers will be proposed, one here
Uh-huh.
and two here to house the materials for that gate. And then the staff will be trained to build them.
Okay.
And
So follow-up question to that would be, how long would it take for the staff to be able to actually put those gates in? How much time would they need in advance to?
Yeah, probably they're gonna need, I would say, to put 3 gates in, probably 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah, so we'd start with probably this gate here,
Uh-huh.
because if this gate goes in, we can still get through the plant to get back to the animal shelter. And then the next gate, and it'll all be timed with what our expectations are with the storm coming. The next gate would be this one, which would then close Beacon Point Road off completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final gate would be our emergency exit, which is actually a smaller gate. So these will be probably 5 to 6 feet tall. This one will probably be more in the order of 4 feet tall.
And what's the reason we can't permanently have the gates up all the time?
Because it would prevent access across the road.
Access, it's
Yeah,
just
and
primarily
there's not
access.
enough room to
Okay.
build
Mhm.
this thing on this side of the road. Ideally, we'd put it, along
Mhm.
this side of the road, but there's too much infrastructure there to build around.
And every time the gates have to be put up or installed or reinstalled, are those costs included in our budget, or would that have to be an additional item?
The installation of the
The primary
of the
installation?
heavy material, of the
Mhm.
footings and the infrastructure would be in here, would be as part of this project. The materials will be
Mhm.
bought under the project and stored on site. The cost to erect them, we're gonna erect them ourselves with our public works staff
Okay.
and treatment plant staff. So
So if we need it, there's no
there won't be a
question, there's
cost
no
to erect
delay.
them,
okay.
just town labor.
Okay. My next question was, during, if we have a 100-year flood, and those lower gates are closed, and you had mentioned that the pumps are still on the inside part of the wall.
Yes.
I'm not an engineer, so if you could just explain to me how they would still be able, they would have to come up over the wall to pump that water to come out, to get out of the inside of the.
No, so the outside of the wall will be flooded. And
Correct.
The pump's on the inside, and that will be collecting the water with all these pipes that you see here.
So it goes underground.
Yeah, it's all piped
It's
to
all
the pump
underground.
station, and then it pumps out.
Okay.
And that'll keep the inside dry, up to a 25-year storm.
Flow is underneath the road into the river.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Continue to use that same flow.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it comes right out through here, underneath the road, and then it goes into the wetlands.
Okay. And in the event that one of the gates doesn't work, then what would happen?
You know, it's gonna work.
Okay, we're gonna get a boat. Well,
Yeah, but that's, they have to work, you know, otherwise the plan would flood.
so, okay. Just for process, just so I'm trying to understand the function. So the staff that is there, they stay for as long as necessary until the water recedes safely?
Yeah, and that's what happened in Sandy.
Yeah,
They had staff on site.
okay.
Tom, to that point, because you guys, to Sandy, you've had,
Mhm.
this thing runs 24/7, as we know. Can you just, in maybe 60 seconds or 2 minutes, just go through, in the event of a crazy storm, even today without this, what your staff is doing on the inside and how many people are manning it?
Typically, we keep the entire maintenance staff on.
Can you use the microphone? Thank you.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Typically, we will keep the entire maintenance staff on. We will have a couple of extra operations people on to watch the plant in case there are any pump failures or any other issues that develop during a large hurricane type event. And this is preparation for that, so we'd be using the same people. We would just, we know one of these is coming. We won't get to the point where we need the gates right off. The gate that we're eliminating was the lowest one, the one that floods on a regular basis, and that's one of the reasons that we eliminated it. So we will actually have ample time to know that this is coming in, and we'll have the personnel available. If I don't have a large enough staff, then we'll get assistance from Public Works.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions for Mr. Casey on the site plans? Great.
The storm drains that come into the property, is that part of our, and the study that we're gonna do now?
Well, so we looked at that, the implications of the stormwater in the design of this project, but
Yes.
the correction of that is not in this project, so that would be a separate project
But getting to
for
the,
stormwater improvements.
but we would have a solution of one or the other options that you described in line with the construction of the larger wall.
You know, I have in my mind some potential solutions, but we would be looking at that and designing that as a separate project.
Okay.
And John, designing that as a separate project won't hinder the work being done on this.
No, this will be built, those pipes will be in place, but, you know, we're not 100% protected until we correct the stormwater. And, you know, so that's item 3A of my memo. And so I don't know if you want to jump, I could just jump to that and just
So-
finish.
Sure. I'm sorry. Why don't we actually, because that's a separate project, right?
It will be a separate project.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's take action on this since we just went through it. Then I'll have you explain that, and we'll talk about that going forward. So I'll entertain a motion. So this was, let's see, that was 3A, John? No,
That's 3.
that's just 3.
Yep.
Item number 3. So I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 3 for the town engineer. Motion by Ms. Sutton. I have a second by Mr. Connor. Any further discussion on this? And then again, this is to send it for permitting processes. Okay. No discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 7-0. So John, if you want to, you don't need action on this next one tonight, correct?
No, I just want to,
Just walk,
because
yeah,
it is,
because
it's
it's
part
tied
and parcel
closely.
with this
Go ahead.
project. We did apply for some funding for another project, which is this, be stormwater improvements. And the reason why we did this is because the budget for project A doesn't include this, so we don't have a budget for that. So we applied for grant funding for the stormwater part of the project. And that federal funding, was advancing. I don't know where it stands right now, but should we, get the final notice of award of that, we would then implement another project. And I run through, the various parts of that project. Probably the main one is the stormwater pipe penetrations. But we do want to look at the pump station and make sure we have sufficient capacity to, in case we needed to handle, a somewhat larger storm than was evaluated in the Project A project. And we also have, I mentioned a couple of open gates and things, grates from on piping internal to the plant that we would put watertight grates on, that type of thing. So the whole thing, and we also included in that some more automation on the system, so we can know what's happening within the stormwater system from within the office, and they could exercise gates and add pump capacity, turn on more pumps if needed, and that type of thing, by seeing what's happening in the plant. Kind of like what we have now with our sanitary pump stations. We now have more data. We could see what's happening from, inside the plant. We would do that with the stormwater parts of the system within the plant also. So, that is something that we'll be, keeping on our agenda, and hopefully we get the grant funding, and then we would, go to select an engineer and start that whole process.
So you'll keep us apprised of that status?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Good. Mike.
The stormwater monitoring done by the plant employees, would that just be in the general area of the plant? Or
Just for the plant.
All right.
Yep.
Any other question for John? Thank you, Ms. Casey. We appreciate it. Mr. Hyde, you're up, sir. You want to just give a couple action items, I think?
Yes, well, just one item in particular. Well, two items, yes. The first one, item 2, on my report, repairing the VFD frequency drive, the 300 horsepower main blower. I didn't have all the information on that. I still don't have all the information on that. We have 3 blowers that run the aeration units in our facility. 2 that operate on a regular basis, 1 as a spare. We rotate them. One of them, the motor has failed. So in the near future, I will be coming to you to talk about, we just got the price on a new motor of $39,000. That doesn't include the riggers to get it in and out and et cetera. But I'll follow up on that in a later meeting. The only other item that I had was that the Broadbridge pump station, one of the 3 pumps had failed there, 2, and needed to replace that. Cost is $9,950, and I'd request approval to use the funds from the pump station maintenance account to pay for the pump station pump.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for, under new business from Mr. Hyde to replace the Broadbridge pump stations. Pump station pump, sorry.
So moved.
I got Ms. Dancho first, so Mr. O'Brien, want a second? So just so we're clear, we're replacing a pump at the pump station, not the whole station again, for $9,950, okay.
I have
Any
a
other
question.
discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Shake.
Thank you. When we replace these parts, what is the warranty? Basically, what are we insured so that if something were to go wrong, what's the timeline so that the fund to fix it or change it doesn't have to come out of?
Off the top of my head, I
Mhm.
don't know what the warranty was on this particular pump. I know that the motor that I was just speaking of comes with a 2-year warranty.
That you're referring to the aeration issue, or you're talking about the Broadbridge pump?
In the aeration issue, that one comes with a 2-year warranty. I don't recall what the warranty is on the pump station pump at this time.
If you could either email, I'm just curious, when we have these items that need to be addressed, but what the warranty is, so that in the event of another, you know,
Yeah.
occurrence, it's
The-
not coming out of the
a
fund.
Regular occurring thing. These pumps were actually installed in 2005, so we got close to a 20-year run out of them, and you could anticipate something similar to that. If they're a rebuild, maybe not quite the same, but there's longevity to this equipment.
Okay, thank you for answering my question.
Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Chair votes aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Mr. Town Attorney, do we have anything from you this evening? Thank you, sir. All right, no old business, no new. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I got Ms. Sutton. I'll take Mr. Connor on the second. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Chair votes aye. Motion approved 7-0. Thank you all for tonight.